Nuclear events. Nuclear power plant emergency. Nuclear power plants use the heat generated from nuclear fission in a contained environment to convert water to steam, which powers generators to produce electricity. Nuclear power plants operate in most states in the country and produce about 20% of the nation's power. Nearly 3 million Americans live within 10 miles of an operating nuclear power plant. Although the construction and operation of these facilities are closely monitored and regulated by the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, or NRC, accidents are possible. An accident could result in dangerous levels of radiation that could affect the health and safety of the public living near the nuclear power plant. Local and state governments, federal agencies, and the electric utilities have emergency response plans in the event of a nuclear power plant incident. The plans define 2 emergency planning zones. One zone covers an area within a 10-mile radius of the plant where it is possible that people could be harmed by direct radiation exposure. The second zone covers a broader area, usually up to a 50-mile radius from the plant, where radioactive materials could contaminate water supplies, food crops, and livestock. The potential danger from an accident at a nuclear power plant is exposure to radiation. This exposure could come from the release of radioactive material from the plant into the environment, usually characterized by a plume, a cloud-like formation of radioactive gases and particles. The major hazard to people in the vicinity of the plume are radiation exposure to the body from the cloud and particles deposited on the ground, inhalation of radioactive materials, and ingestion of radioactive materials. Radioactive materials are composed of atoms that are unstable. An unstable atom gives off its excess energy until it becomes stable. The energy emitted is radiation. Each of us is exposed to radiation daily from natural sources, including the sun and the earth. Small traces of radiation are present in food and water. Radiation is also released from man-made sources such as X-ray machines, television sets, and microwave ovens. Radiation has a cumulative effect. The longer a person is exposed to radiation, the greater the effect. A high exposure to radiation can cause serious illness or death. Although the risk of a chemical accident is slight, knowing how to handle these products and how to react during an emergency can reduce the risk of injury. before a nuclear power plant emergency. Obtain public emergency information materials from the power company that operates your local nuclear power plant or your local emergency services office. If you live within 10 miles of the power plant, you should receive these materials yearly from the power company or your state or local government. Minimizing exposure to radiation. Distance. The more distance between you and the source of the radiation, the better. This could be evacuation or remaining indoors to minimize exposure. Shielding. The more heavy, dense material between you and the source of the radiation, the better. Time. Most radioactivity loses its strength fairly quickly. During a nuclear power plant emergency. The following are guidelines for what you should do if a nuclear power plant emergency occurs. Keep a battery-powered radio with you at all times and listen to the radio for specific instructions. Close and lock doors and windows. If you are told to evacuate, keep car windows and vents closed. Use recirculating air. If you are advised to remain indoors, turn off the air conditioner, ventilation fans, furnace, and other air intakes. Go to a basement or other underground area if possible. Do not use the telephone unless absolutely necessary. If you expect you have been exposed to nuclear radiation, change clothes and shoes. Put exposed clothing in a plastic bag. Seal the bag and place it out of the way. Take a thorough shower. Keep food in covered containers or in the refrigerator. Food not previously covered should be washed before being put into containers. After a nuclear event. Ensure your safety. Find out how to care for your safety after a disaster. Your first concern after a disaster is your family's health and safety. You need to consider possible safety issues and monitor family health and well-being. Aiding the injured. Check for injuries. Do not attempt to move seriously injured persons unless they are in immediate danger of death or further injury. If you must move an unconscious person, first stabilize the neck and back, then call for help immediately. If the victim is not breathing, carefully position the victim for artificial respiration. Clear the airway and commence mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Maintain body temperature with blankets. Be sure the victim does not become overheated. Never try to feed liquids to an unconscious person. Health. Be aware of exhaustion. Don't try to do too much at once. Set priorities and pace yourself. Get enough rest. Drink plenty of clean water. Eat well. Wear sturdy work boots and gloves. Wash your hands thoroughly with soap and clean water often when working in debris. Safety issues. Be aware of new safety issues created by the disaster. Watch for washed out roads, contaminated buildings, contaminated water, gas leaks, broken glass, damaged electrical wiring, and slippery floors. Inform local authorities about health and safety issues, including chemical spills, downed power lines, washed out roads, smoldering insulation, and dead animals.